Okay, we're ready to go. GM. Yeah. What's up? What's up? Yeah. Let's get the energy level up, up, up. Yeah, welcome all of you to our workshop. And, in this workshop, we're going to talk about how you can use USDC, Circle API, and Verite to build Web3 applications. So before we get started, just a little intro of myself and Marcus. And Marcus is our director of engineering of crypto. And so his team is behind all the building of like USDC on all these chains and allow us to actually being able to transfer USDC or send the USDC from one chain to another. So basically, it's interchain interoperable. And I'm Yongsheng. I joined Circle about 9-10 months ago, and I lead our infrastructure and platform team. And so Verite is actually a new initiative taken over by my team. And so we're going to talk about decentralized identity and how Verite actually implement it. So this is sort of like, kind of agenda for this talk. And first, we're going to talk about USDC and native implementation of USDC on Avalanche. And then we're going to talk about Circle API. And, basically, Circle API allow you to do both the traditional sort of fiat rail payment processing, but also on-ramp, off-ramp, payment payout. So there's a lot of stuff Marcus is going to cover. And then at the end, we're going to talk about Verite, and which is a decentralized identity protocol. It's an open protocol, and it's built with a component from a lot of open standard. And basically, there's no lock-in, and anybody can essentially, kind of implement the component of that protocol and be part of the protocol. And I'll talk about that. So first of all, a little bit about Circle. Circle obviously is a bridging company. We bridge the fiat and the crypto ecosystem, and we're the operator of USDC. And we issue mint, burn USDC, and USDC is a stable coin pegged to US dollar 1-to-1. And it's a full reserve, right? It means that for every dollar of USDC on chain, and there is $1 US in our bank account, so that if you want to cash out, you want to, you have a USDC, or like, I want to cash out, I want to exit, you put $1 US into my bank account, you can do that anytime because we're full reserve, and we only have cash or cash equivalent essentially in our reserve. And we release a monthly attestment, and in that attestment, it's on our website. You can go there and you can check. I think that's the reason why we think stablecoin, there's many implementations of stablecoin, but not all of them are created equal. And so this is basically, today, kind of our business model. We obviously, as I said, operate USDC, and we also kind of provide a set of API, allow our customers to do transaction and treasury services. Again, then, I think Marcus is going to cover a lot of that, so I wouldn't say much detail about it. And we also have an independent division of Seed Invest. So that is a crowdsourcing, crowdfunding platform. So basically give everybody opportunity to access investment opportunity of startup companies. And with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Marcus to talk about USDC on Avalanche, and our API.
Cool. Thanks, Yongsheng. Can I have the... okay, so USDC. I'm guessing most of you guys have heard of USDC by this point. If not before this conference, then, like from Yongsheng just now. But like Yongsheng said, we're a leading dollar digital currency. What this means is we're a cryptocurrency pegged to the dollar. Sort of like he said, you give us a dollar, we give you back a token, and the reverse of this as well for redemptions. The crypto ecosystem has decided that dollars are really useful because we live a lot of our normal daily lives in them, and so cryptocurrencies pegged to them are also really useful. And what we've seen over the past few years has been enormous explosive growth in USDC. It was 52.7 billion as of March 17th. It may very well be higher by then, I don't know. But it's certainly been growing incredibly rapidly, especially over the past, year and a half. Just to give you guys some sense of the scale of this, we've seen almost $2 trillion transferred on-chain. That's just a crazy, crazy large amount of money that's flown through this. And we think it really shows, how much people want to use, like stuff like USDC and other stablecoins. One thing that my team in particular focuses on is spreading it across multiple blockchains. We initially put it on Ethereum, and then we sort of heard from the ecosystem that, Ethereum's cool, but there are other blockchains, and to try to spread it onto them. We've launched it onto 8 so far, and we're really trying to grow it onto more of them as well. So how does USDC work? Like Yongsheng said, it's a reserve-backed stablecoin. So what that means is for every 1 unit of USDC that's issued, we hold $1 of it. And this ensures that the price never moves away from $1 because we can always give you that dollar back in exchange for 1 USDC, and so that maintains the peg. One area that USDC really focuses on is maintaining the transparency and veracity of that peg. So we know that for that enormous market cap, we're holding a lot of your money, and that's a really big responsibility. And so we try to take that very carefully and seriously. Like Yongsheng said, we're 100% reserved and attested. Every month we release audited financial documents that say, this is where the money is, this is exactly how much of it is, it still exists, and everything else like that. And what we've seen is that the ecosystem really appreciates that transparency. And that transparency gives you the confidence to know that when you hold 1 USDC, it's going to continue to be worth $1 in perpetuity. So, as hopefully you guys know, this is a conference about Avalanche. And so one of the chains that we recently released USDC on is Avalanche. And we've seen really incredible usage of it from the ecosystem as a whole. There's a lot of amazing chains out there. I'm not going to badmouth specific ones, but we think that Avalanche is pretty awesome. It's fast, it's cheap, and it's interoperable. Like you write some code for, Ethereum a couple years ago, you drop it onto Avalanche, and it just works. And on the next slide, I'll actually be talking about that with USDC, that, we took the USDC contract, we dropped it into Avalanche, and it just worked. And we know that for a lot of other developers out there, that, the ability to do the same is really important. And this is one of the reasons for, the chain becoming so popular. The other big piece of this is the speed and the cost. So Avalanche transactions for USDC cost about 20 cents and settle in less than a second. that's actually fast enough to use in, like you walk up to the store and you purchase a bottle of water or something. And so we know that, as crypto increasingly becomes mainstream and popular, that speed and the cost are really, really important, and we get that from Avalanche. One quick note is we offer native USDC on Avalanche. We know that there's a bridged version that was sort of created and released before we offered the native token. We only support the native USDC. Please don't send us the bridged version. It's not going to work. And we're sort of working with the Avalanche team to phase out the bridged version and move people over onto the native. So the native version that we want you to use is right there on the within the scan code right there, and that's the native token that we'd like folks to use. So I want to talk a little bit about the smart contract itself. Like I said, sort of we care about the transparency and the veracity and auditability of this. And that's not just the reserves, it's also within the technical work. And so, you're trusting a ton of money to a smart contract. We want you to be able to trust that smart contract. We publish the full source code for the smart contract on GitHub. It's right there. And like I said, we use basically the same code across all of our Ethereum compatible chains. And this has allowed us to, do a lot less work to launch on new chains. It also means that we're allowed to share, sort of the coding and the testing and the learning from one chain onto another. So I want to talk about a couple of the design philosophies that went into the USDC smart contract. As you may recall from a couple slides ago, we launched this in 2018. And, sort of at that time, the Ethereum ecosystem was sort of still developing. There were a lot of things that, sort of we know now about how to write safe smart contracts that were sort of still being figured out then. And so we, when we launched it, we worked really hard to build, good, clean safety features into it to protect it for quite a while moving forward. And those safety features are sort of intended, like I said, to help you trust this thing so that hopefully there will never be a catastrophic hack of USDC. And if there is, that we have the safety features and procedures in there to help contain and mitigate it. So one of those is minter allowance. So one really big concern with, sort of crypto contracts in general is, you create something and something starts going wrong with it. And you want to be able to shut it down and mitigate your risk. So we implement a minter allowance where addresses are only allowed to create automatically some quantity of USDC without manual input. And so this ensures that, let's say something goes wrong and we have, a minter creating too much USDC, we limit the risk that can be caused by that. And like I said, that helps to ensure the remainder of the reserves if something like that were to happen. The next thing is pausability. We have enormous amounts flowing through this. I think the number was 1.9 trillion. And the time may come if something happens that we need to temporarily pause it. We don't take that action lightly. But it's a very useful action to have in case something catastrophic goes wrong and, we need to pause and work through things. And then the last thing is upgradability. Smart contracts are forever, but, we're programmers, we're engineers, we're used to being able to create new code and new features and change things as the ecosystem moves forward. And so we wanted to ensure that our smart contract was upgradable to be able to provide those new features. And we've actually upgraded it twice, I think. So I want to talk a little bit more about how we built the upgradability, because we put some thought into this, especially when we were trying to build this 4 years ago, when a lot of these systems and practices weren't really common. So we went with a proxy pattern called the call delegation proxy pattern. And basically, there's a couple different ways of doing this. But the big issue with upgrading smart contracts is you can never change the address the users see. We have, one address for USDC on Ethereum, one on Avalanche and stuff like that. And, our users use it. It's baked into exchanges and, other smart contracts within the ecosystem. And we need to be able to deploy new smart contracts that swap out the behavior without changing the smart contract that people actually see. And so to do this, we produce a proxy contract that holds the data, and then there's a series of logic contracts underneath it that we can swap out from one to another to provide new upgraded functionality. And like I said, there's sort of a couple different ways of doing this. We've put a couple different options here. The specifics of it aren't super important, but one sort of concern that we had, and one reason we picked the one that we did, was systems like this, the separating the logic and the data, lead to more Ethereum like hops between the smart contracts, and that leads to increased transaction cost. And so this system is also a little bit more complicated, and it's easier to make mistakes on. But like I said, sort of ensuring the simplicity of the smart contracts both ensures that it's harder for our developers to make mistakes, and also because there's fewer proxy jumps, it makes transactions cheaper for people calling the smart contract. And we know that the transaction cost is hyper important to you folks, and so we wanted to minimize that as much as possible. And we've seen, like I said, that the ecosystem has really picked this up fantastically. There's been enormous supply of it created. I think that, like a number of these platforms are here right now in Barcelona with us. And so it's just been incredibly exciting to watch, like the system that we've built be picked up and used. So I want to switch tacks a little bit, at least for a little bit, to move from USDC to Circle APIs. So we've built this really nice thing called USDC, and now we want the world to use it. And we know that a lot of you folks also build super great things, and we want you guys to be able to bring that out through to the rest of the world. And that means working not just with crypto, but also credit cards and debit cards and ACH and SEPA and wires and all these other kinds of traditional methods of moving money. And so we certainly support USDC within the Circle APIs, but we also provide a suite of products to make it easier to work with, like the credit and the debit cards of the world and all those other payment methods. We're also globally focused. We support cards in nearly 200 countries and wires in close to 100. So we really want this to be sort of one-stop shop for global work with payments. So this takes the form of a couple forms. If you're just, you want to take in a single crypto payment and send it back out as a wire, we provide, sort of a nice graphical website for you to work through. Underneath that, we provide a suite of Circle APIs that let you programmatically move all those kinds of money. So we have payments in, sort of like I said, credit and debit cards, bank transfers, as well as crypto. Once you've taken money in, you probably want to send it out. So we can pay out to all these different kinds of bank transfers. We also do crypto like transfers out. And then the last thing we do is we have what we call the Circle account, and this provides sort of other useful accounts and yield and banking systems for your use. So this can be everything from more complex accounting. It can be cross-chain swaps from one chain to another. It can be yield. So you send us some USDC, and we hold it for you, and we give you back a yield on that. So for my last slide before I hand it back over to Yongsheng, I want to talk a little bit about the specific APIs. And so these are the actual flow of funds diagrams that we work with our customers to create. This is an example we built for an NFT marketplace, but it's going to be basically the same for a yield system or DeFi or anything else like that. And for credit cards, it's pretty simple. The end user passes you their credit card information. You pass us their credit card information. We swipe the card for you, and then we give you back the USDC into your Circle account. And then once you have that USDC, you could be using it to, pay out some USDC to the creator of the NFT, or, to invest in, like yield farming or something like that, or really anything else. And so what we think is so special about the APIs that we've built is once you have that for the credit cards, we make it really easy to expand to all these other kinds of payment rails. So, let's say that like you're this marketplace for NFTs, you've been able to like produce and sell these, great images and stuff for, $1,000 a pop. People are swiping their credit cards for them. The market grows. Now your NFTs cost $100,000. That doesn't go over credit cards, right? That's, bank wires and transfers and stuff like that. And so instead of you having to find, a whole new payments provider and work out another contract and work out another API and work out a new flow of funds, we give you basically the same API for those new bank transfers. And so it's the exact same thing of you get the user's bank information, you give it to us, we perform the transfer, and then we give you back that USDC in the exact same Circle account as you were using for credit cards. So we know that, all these different payment methods can be incredibly complex, especially for crypto folks. And so we provide this one single unified API for smoothly working with all of them. So that's it on the Circle APIs. I'm going to hand it back over to Yongsheng to talk about decentralized identity. All yours.
Okay, so before we talk about decentralized identity, Verite, as a way to actually do it, I want to kind of motivate it a little bit. Why do we need decentralized identity? Some of the use cases that we think is like big opportunities are in the DeFi world. So today, as you guys all know, DeFi is over collateralized, right? The reason why it's over collateralized is because, all you really know about the participants is like their wallet address. Like that's all you know. You don't know who's behind it. There's no additional information which is available to the traditional finance system, right? So you get mortgage, you provide a lot of information to the bank, and then so the bank can analyze the risk associated with it and kind of lending you the money. So we think through decentralized identity, essentially a lot of information can also be provided to these DeFi protocols. But the important thing is we want to provide all the information without having to disclose your true identity. So basically you can prove that you satisfy all the requirements set by the protocol without having to tell the protocol who you are, how much balance you have in your bank account, how much holding you have in your brokerage account, how much money you're making every single month, what is your social security number. Like, you don't need to do any of that. And we think that is going to be able to unlock a lot of amazing opportunities for the ecosystem. And they're obviously attempted to address that problem. The most popular one is by whitelisting, right? So these are the set of wallet addresses that can participate in this protocol. Or you can try to expose some of the information on chain and make it available to this protocol. But anything that's on chain can be, it's basically this smart contract can read it, then anybody else can also read it. Like, you don't want your PI information to be on chain. So that's the reason why we try to build Verite. Center, we work together with Center. Center is like a consortium, and right now Coinbase and Circle are members of that consortium. And as Center built it, it also obviously reached out to other companies in the ecosystem and try to include their thoughts and thinking. So it is open standard, open protocol. So without further ado, we'll just more focus on how exactly Verite works. Yeah, so we have 5 minutes. Let's see if we can walk through this. So first of all, in the ecosystem, there's an issuer, right? So issuer is actually the entity that is gonna do the KYC, do the KYB, get all the information and verify it. And then it's gonna produce, this is, oh. Okay. I saw this, there's animation, but there's no animation. So let's see if I can, okay. So the issuer then is gonna issue, verifiable credentials. What the verifiable credential is gonna do is that it's only gonna have the information like, are you a credit investor, right? Is your credit score over 800? Those type of information. It wouldn't have, your name, your address, your social security number, and all that, sensitive personal identifiable information and sensitive financial information of yours. And then it's gonna combine with the wallet, right? So there's a process to basically allow it to, it's kind of like a concept Vitalik mentioned, soap bonding, meaning that, the verifiable credential in that process can only be bond to a given crypto wallet. So no other wallet can really use it, right? It's not transferable. And also it's not leaving on-chain. It's actually that verifiable credential lives within the wallet itself. And then you can take that wallet and try to, kind of participate in the protocol, in the DApp, right? The DApp is gonna ask the wallet for verifiable credential. And you can basically select it and give it to the DApp. The DApp would be able to understand, because this is an open standard. So if you can understand what's in the verifiable credential, you can verify it yourself. But if you don't want to do it, right, and you can then forward that verifiable credential, to a verifier, and the verifier will verify it and say, okay, you're a credit investor, so now you can participate, in the protocol, or be part of the, use the service provided by the DApp. The reason why, this whole thing works is because there's crypto built in, and cryptography built in allow this whole thing to be zero knowledge, right? So you take that verifiable credential, as long as you understand the protocol, you can verify it, or you can forward it to a verifier who understand it. So why this is an open system is because anybody can be a issuer, right? But the problem is that the DApp itself, or DeFi protocol, can decide which issuer they trust, because each issuer is going to have a decentralized ID associated with them. And the DApp also gets to decide which verifier they trust. So anybody can be an issuer, anybody can be a verifier, but the application developers, they decide which issuer and which verifier they trust. And anybody can be an issuer or verifier. So that's, and the standard, the protocol is open, out in the open, and now there are slides where you can, go and, can read about more information. And then there's sort of a demo implementation provided by Center as well. And hopefully that is clear, but if it's not, then you know, we can answer some questions from you guys. So I think really a lot of what's here is already being discussed as I present the last slide. And we don't really have a whole lot of time to cover this, but you guys can, you know, we'll make the slides available to you and you can read about it. And this a set of links where can help you get started. And with that, I don't know whether we still have time to. Okay, fantastic.
Hello. I just wanted to ask, and I appreciate you know, the Verity circle kind of like happened recently, but what's the plan for the usage of VCs or verifiable credentials alongside USDC? Like, is there a plan to have both work in conjunction to enable payments or open new use cases?
You know, that is certainly a possibility, right? So I think, you know, the asset and, you know, Verity as a decentralized identity solution, they're really orthogonal, right? So there are a combination where it could be interesting, but, you know, you can use one without having to use the other.
Okay, here. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for your talk. So I have two questions, okay? So the first one is that you mentioned that the DID is going to be stored in a wallet so that the verifier can verify that the DID corresponds to the user and it has been verified. Yeah. Okay, so what wallets are currently being supported, or what wallets support the DID, and what are the plans for that? And my second question is that, I mean, by the end of the day, you're doing everything. I mean, having a decentralized ID in order to submit something to the authorities in a regulated world. So my question is, who is legally responsible for all of this?
Yeah, okay. You know, first question is that, you know, who actually implement or integrate with Verity today? So the current status is that, you know, we made an announcement of Verity, and Circle has a, you know, working implementation of Verity, both the issuer and verifier. So we have both of that. So the integration points in the ecosystem is, A, you know, there need to be a wallet adopt Verity and integrate with Verity. B is like, okay, now there's a DApp, actually use it, right? So for on the wallet part, as we making the announcement, you know, MetaMask institution and Phantom, they are announcement partners, and they are working with us to integrate Verity into their wallet. And there are, you know, many actually wallet providers, they're super interested in this. And as part of, you know, attending this conference, we got a chance to talk to some of them. They're all very, very interested in this because everybody sees that, you know, for the next phase of the growth of the ecosystem, you kind of need to make some of the information, as I said, you know, identity-related information available on chain without, you know, but preserve, right, the privacy, not making your PII information or sensitive financial information, you know, you don't have to disclose those information to the service provider. So the second question is,
who is legally liable for everything in front of the regulator? Okay, so yeah. I mean, if someone is being a verifier and... Yeah.
So verifier does not carry any sort of legal liability because the verifiable credential can be verified with zero knowledge. Basically, it's just, its integrity can be independently verified by anybody. You don't need any other information. And then, you know, in terms of who's responsible for the verifiable credential, the issuers are. Because the issuer said, this wallet, whoever is owning this wallet, like, is a credit investor. And the issuer really need to go through the process of, you know, basically offline, and actually looking at your document and everything, and then say, yes, you are a credit investor. So the issuer is liable legally for whatever they put into the verifiable credential.
So there has to be an agreement between the issuer and the verifier, a legal agreement.
That
I mean, the authorities, they will go after the verifier, not the issuer.
oh that is a interesting question. I don't think I have an answer of that, but but verifier basically only verifies the credential, verifiable credential is not being tampered.
It depends on the country and the regulatory environment. So my question is in this line also. Yeah. I'm the CFO of Retalk. We're tokenizing real estate to increase home ownership rates. And the regulator asks from us that we know at all time the identity of our token holders. So using Verite, is there a way for us to actually request the actual identity? The goal being to make sure to being able to apply like sanctions and requisition to froze assets.
So the decentralized ID has the information of who the issuer is. So let's say Circle is the issuer, and then you actually look at the verifiable credential, you would know it's being issued by Circle. And then you can actually go to Circle and ask a Circle, what is the identity, the real identity information for this verifiable credential? Yes, that is possible. And that's the sort of like the system basically solves those two problems. One is on-chain, you can sort of, prove that you satisfy the set of requirement without having to disclose the true identity. But then for the regulators, the regulator can actually go to the issuer and ask for true identity of the verifiable credential.
Okay, that sounds good. And talking about liabilities, typically in Switzerland, we cannot outsource liability. So if they ask us for the identity, we can tell them I go as the issuer. We have to do that ourselves. Be sure that we can actually obtain that, because if we can't, it will be us that will end up in prison.
The solution there could be the issuer is also the verifier. Like for the DApp, basically say you're the issuer, and then you also have to provide verification service as well.
Okay, is it something that exists?
No, that's the DApp that got to decide. Yeah. So the DApp basically say, I only accept this, this verifiable credential from this particular issuer, and I also only, gonna forward the request to this particular verifier. Yeah.
Okay. Is it a service that can already be offered by Circle?
Yeah, Circle has a working implementation of both the issuer and verifier. So if you're a DApp developer, if you're a wallet provider, you can come to talk to us, and we can help you integrate Verite into your wallet or into your DApp.
Okay, thanks.
All right, one more question?
Yeah,
okay.
But the last one.
How do you actually incentivize the issuers to do it if they were to take that legal, obligation ultimately to the regulator or to whoever is interacting with that smart contract? Why would they do it?
Yeah. So for us, we wanna obviously provide a way to enable the ecosystem to grow. So we haven't really put very deep thinking into like what is the business model, who's gonna pay for the cost. Maybe the whoever is requesting the verifiable credential, and that party, because eventually that party can use that to get involved in kind of investment opportunity. Let's put it that way. Benefit from it. So ultimately, so maybe that party need to pay for the whole entire thing. And as for issuer, like why there's incentive, I think all of us, our incentive is to grow the ecosystem, right? So today we're $2 trillion ecosystem, and we want to be $200 trillion ecosystem. And we think Verite is a very important piece of Lego Lego pieces to enable us to together. All right, I think you know, we are running out of time, and really appreciating everybody coming, and I really appreciate everybody, all the really good questions.